The Secretariat of National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Childcare says Australia is at risk of creating another stolen generation. Muriel Bamblett from the Victorian Aboriginal Childcare Agency says Indigenous Australia is overrepresented in child protection and underrepresented in family services. She says a big part of the problem is mainstream services aren't working, and that's creating new problems.
Our kids are coming out of the system more damaged, more complex, with more issues. They're more likely to end up in juvenile justice, in the criminal justice system. So you have to be able to respond to that.
Despite the millions of dollars being invested by governments around the country to address child abuse and neglect, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids are nearly 8 times more likely to be victims. To compound the situation, a Victorian government report last week highlighted that Indigenous kids in its state were 10 times more likely to be neglected or abused, with more than 960 Koori kids entering the system in 2011-2012.
All the evidence suggests that most Aboriginal children come into care because of neglect and not abuse. So we're clearly not abusers of our children, but where children are neglected, where there's a systemic neglect, where there isn't appropriate housing, when people can't afford to live and protect their children, then we've got to look at what is the system doing to, keep vulnerable children in their parental home and support parents to keep their children.
This week, the National Children's Commissioner begins the hard work in helping turn around these unwanted statistics. Frank Heighton hopes decision makers will invest in funding community organisations with local knowledge and the runs on the board.
It's not which box you tick that matters, it's the fact that kids are safer that matters. And so we've got to find ways of enabling Aboriginal organisations to do what they're good at, which is about keeping Aboriginal children safe, and not let white-fella rules get in the way of them doing that.
Those discussions will be at the centre of attention in Cairns later this year, as it hosts a national summit on child protection. Jeremy Geyer, NITV News, Melbourne.